there, I'm Miss Melissa from Lorton Library, currently working at the Kingstown Library. Welcome to Spooky Science Tricks. Even if you can't go trick-or-treating this year, you can still put the trick in trick-or-treating with these simple science tricks you can do using materials from home. For our first trick, we're going to make a diving ghost in a bottle that will spookily rise and fall inside our bottle. So we'll need a 2-liter plastic bottle with its cap, a white plastic trash bag, a straw, a rubber band, some paper clips, a permanent marker, a cup or bowl of water, and some strong glue such as hot glue for adult use only. First, you'll want to take your straw and cut off a piece. I'm making mine a little less than 4 inches. You can make yours shorter or longer if you want. Just keep in mind the longer the straw, the more paper clips you'll need. Now you're going to take your straw and kind of fold it in half. Get a nice crease at the top, and then take your rubber band and wrap it around the bottom here. This is easiest if you have a small rubber band, but you can use whatever you have on hand, and just make sure not to wrap it too tightly. There should be a little bit of space between the two pieces. Now you're going to go ahead and add some paper clips to add weight to your contraption. I would go ahead and just add 2 to start, and then we'll go ahead and test it. And if we need to add more paper clips, then we can do that. But make sure that your paper clips are kind of evenly distributed. That way our contraption won't fall over. In order to test it, we're going to go ahead and just drop it right in the water. Ideally, it should flow upright, just barely above the surface, so just the very top of the straw is showing. And since ours isn't doing that, we need to add more paper clips. I went ahead and added 3 more paper clips, so mine now has 5 total. Yours might need more or less depending on the length of your straw, how heavy your paper clips are, and even the size of your rubber band. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the water to test. And as you can see, it's now floating upright, and just a little bit of the top of the straw is showing, so we're at about the right weight. But now we're ready to turn it into a ghost, so we might have to adjust slightly after that. Next, you're ready to make it look more like a ghost. So you'll want to trace and cut out a circle on your piece of white garbage bag. If you're having trouble making a circle, you could always find something in your pantry or even a small plate to trace. And you'll go ahead and take your piece of garbage bag, and we're going to glue it to our piece of straw. Hot glue works best, but if you only have another type of glue on hand, or maybe even like a small piece of duct tape, you could always try that. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue at the very top, and it's important that only adults do this part since the glue is pretty hot. I'm going to go ahead and then add it there. And next I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of hot glue on the sides near the top, and that way it kind of helps our ghost stay in place a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and do that for all of the sides, and then use our marker to draw a face on our ghost, and that way it'll look a little bit spookier. We don't need very much glue, just a tiny bit like this. Yep. And one thing you're going to want to do before you put your ghost in the bottle is to go ahead and test it one more time inside your cup. Sometimes what can happen is that adding the trash bag can change the weight very slightly so that it no longer floats. So you'll just want to make sure that you test that before putting it in the bottle, because trying to get your ghost back out of the bottle again can be a little bit challenging. Once your ghost is ready, fill up your bottle most of the way with water and drop your ghost inside. Then put the lid on and squeeze the bottle to make your ghost dive. And then release to make your ghost go ahead and float back up to the surface. You can keep on playing with it, squeezing and releasing to make your ghost rise and fall in the bottle. If your ghost isn't falling, you can go ahead and add a little bit more weight to it. And if it sinks to the bottom, you'll want to go ahead and remove a little bit of the weight. This is called a Cartesian diver experiment, and the reason that it works is because squeezing causes the air pressure to force water into the straw, which increases the ghost's density, which causes it to sink. And then on the other hand, releasing decreases the air pressure, which causes the density of the ghost to be less, and that's why it rises back up again to the surface. Our next trick is a jack-o'-lantern optical illusion. So you'll need a piece of paper, cardstock, or an index card. Mine is about 4 by 6 inches in size, but you can make yours larger or smaller if you'd like. And go ahead and fold that paper in half, and on one side, draw an orange pumpkin, make it nice and big, no face. And on the other side, draw a jack-o'-lantern face. You'll want to make sure that your images are in about the same place on both sides of your paper. Next, we're going to go ahead and tape our pencil to our card. I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of tape and kind of just put it right over the pencil, just like that. And then to make sure it's really secure, I'm going to take a piece of tape, make a loop, and put it on top of the pencil. Now we're ready to test it out. We'll go ahead and put the pencil between our two hands and spin as fast as we can. And what's going to happen is the jack-o'-lantern face is going to appear to be on the pumpkin. This is an optical illusion. And the reason that it works is that there's a little bit of time between when we see something with our eyes and when our brain actually processes the information. So our brain is still trying to process the first image when our eyes see the second image. And then our brain gets a little bit mixed up and combines the two images into one. If you'd like to learn more about optical illusions, you can check out a book from the library, and you can also try this experiment using another spooky image, like a witch or even a monster. Our final trick is the monster eye egg experiment. For this activity, we'll need 2 glasses of water, 2 eggs, some salt, some permanent markers, a 1 tablespoon measuring spoon, and a spoon for stirring. So first you'll go ahead and decorate your 2 eggs to look like monster eyes. You could also make them look like ghosts if you'd like. I'd recommend gently blotting the eggs with a paper towel first to get rid of some of the extra moisture, and also just to try to let the marker dry before actually doing the experiment. Now first you're going to go ahead and add 6 tablespoons worth of salt to 1 of your glasses of water. I actually went ahead and added the salt already, and then we're going to go ahead and kind of stir and try to get as much of that salt to dissolve as possible. So we have 1 glass of salt water and 1 glass of fresh water. And we're going to see if the eggs sink or float. This is the tricky part. So you can try asking a family member whether they think that the eggs will sink or float, and they can test 1 egg and you can test the other. But I'm going to go ahead and test both eggs today. So first I'm going to go ahead and test this egg inside our fresh water. Do you think it will sink or float? Let's see. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There we go. It drops to the bottom. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and take our next egg, and we're going to test this one in the salt water to see what happens. Do you think it will sink or float? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. And you can see that this egg actually floats in the salt water. And the reason that 1 egg sinks and 1 floats is that the egg is actually more dense than fresh water. That means that the molecules are more tightly packed together. So since the egg is more dense in the water, in the fresh water, it goes ahead and it sinks right to the bottom. But when we add salt to this glass, it makes the salt water more dense than the egg. And that's why this egg floats. Another way you can try to mix up this experiment is by just filling the glass halfway, adding your salt and stirring, and then adding some fresh water on top to see what happens. Well, thank you for joining us today for our spooky science tricks, and I hope you all have a safe and happy autumn.